Welcome, everybody, to the LinkedIn for B2B Growth Show. I'm your host, Michelle J. Raymond. And this week, everybody, I'm having a fangirl moment. Joe Glover, I am so excited to have you on the show.
I'm excited to be here. I wasn't expecting that.
I know you weren't. And for those of you who haven't met Joe before, Joe is one of the most positively lovely people who has an amazing community. And I can't wait to talk to you about this today, Joe, because as a guest at one of your events, I was absolutely overwhelmed with the kindness of the community of people that you've built around you. And so I'm just like a little excited. And I know every podcast host is excited, and I'm trying to think of another word, but I'm so glad that you're here this week.
I appreciate you. Every bit of excitement is matched in the other direction. I was singing praises before we went live, and you deserve it.
You and I are probably equal opposites. We have kindness in our hearts. I'm the absolute extrovert. You're the introvert. We're going to be talking about community today, which includes my introverted friends. These are always popular episodes, as I said. But Joe, how did you even get started on LinkedIn? Let's go back a little bit. How did you even land here?
Shoot, on LinkedIn. I don't know. So I think I've naturally gravitated to LinkedIn because I just love business stuff. Like, I don't really I play football and exercise like every other human, but I just really enjoy business things. And so it was like one of those platforms that just naturally I gravitated to and enjoyed the conversation on. Yeah, it's not a lot more complicated than that. I went through the same cycle as everyone else in the sense that I probably started a little bit intimidated and then went through a bit of a salesy phase when I was working at an agency, getting in touch with everyone, was like trying to sell at them. And I'm probably at a place sort of 7 years later now where I'm just enjoying it a bit more. And I wrote a post yesterday, which wasn't the most beautiful piece of writing, but it was just like, here's an expression of what's in my head right now. And people seem to resonate with it, which is a very pleasant thing. So yeah, I landed by accident, but I'm enjoying the process.
I'm very glad that you landed and our paths have crossed. And LinkedIn is one of those places that you can find what you're looking for. And we all go through that growth phase, which is why I love to share it straight up with people, because for those new people to LinkedIn that are listening in, often it's overwhelming, it's intimidating, and you just haven't quite found your people yet. And so I want to share some of these tips. Before we jump into the pieces about community, I want your best tips as an introvert. What's the LinkedIn survival guide tips that you would give those that are listening in? How do you manage your energy levels on a platform which is designed to drain it by being social, I would imagine?
I think there's a lovely thing in the first instance, which is how the information is presented on your screen. And so my voice is not that loud in a busy room, but on a screen, it is presented with an equal weighting to anyone else. A piece of writing is just a piece of writing. A picture is a picture, and so on and so forth. There's a real sort of leveling that goes on for introverts and extroverts. In the loudest person in the room can't be heard any louder. Of course, they can use tricks and algorithm hacks, stuff like that, to do whatever they want to do. But I think it's a place for meaningful, thoughtful discourse as much as it is tips and tricks and hacks and so on and so forth. I wouldn't necessarily say the experience of LinkedIn is that different as an introvert. The only thing that I would probably say as a personal reflection, and I don't know whether this is a symptom of my introversion or wider personality, but the thing I really crave for is thoughtful content, stuff that is longer form, more in-depth. And I do find that there is the opportunity for that more on LinkedIn than there is elsewhere. And so actually, instead of approaching it as like a place of intimidation for an introvert, I find it quite pleasant, in the sense that there is a bit more of that sort of stuff. The last tip I have on that is that also there's a very handy unfollow button, which is really important actually, because if you do find yourself being overwhelmed by content that you don't like, you can remove it from your feed and pretty immediately look to improve your experience one way or another, and use that without mercy. And my experience of LinkedIn has improved massively over the course of time. So yeah, curating your experience is important.
I have to join you in that. I am a chronic unfollower. I will remove connections at an instant. If something scrolls past me and for whatever reason it doesn't match my values or it doesn't inspire me, and not every post has to inspire me, but there are just some things and people out there that I've collected along the way that we've just gone down different paths now. And so for anyone that's listening, How do you do that? On every post in the top right-hand corner, there is 3 little dots. They are the magical little dots that you click on. It opens up a new menu. And that's where you can unfollow or mute people. They don't get notified. So it's okay. No one needs to be scared around that. I do that with removing connections because I think even when it scrolls past your eyes in the feed, we've got to protect that because it can be really valuable or really distracting. And sometimes for me, what I've been conscious of lately, Joe, is that I get sideswiped. So my comparisonitis kicks in and I think everybody else is doing better than me. And then all of a sudden I go from feeling 10 out of 10 back down to 2 out of 10. And then I'm thinking, what happened? And quite often it's someone or something which has nothing to do with them. It's all on me, but I call them sideswipes. So you're not expecting them. No one else is doing it deliberately, but they just knock you off course. And I've had to unfollow some people that I found myself doing that more frequently. And so I was like, you know what? It's not you, it's me, but we need to break up unofficially.
That's fabulous. It speaks to a truth of any relationship, right? That you hope to surround yourselves with people who lift you up and improve your life experience one way or another. Life is short, and if we're spending our times comparing one way or another, or indeed having a negative experience on your life in a small or a big way, then that's a good signal to say, I don't need that right now. And that's okay. Your life is yours to choose.
Yeah, exactly. And the fact is, I spend so much time on there that I have to protect it because otherwise it will become overwhelming very quickly, which I know is what happens to a lot of people when they're starting out. I think I've been on LinkedIn for coming up to 10 years. It still impacts me. And that's something that I'm growing into and being more aware of now. I'm a business owner. And so that's really exciting. But I love the networking. I love the people that you can meet that I wouldn't otherwise have the opportunity to come across. And they inspire me, they teach me, they challenge me as well, which I think is also important. So we don't just get surrounded in that echo chamber, which can often happen. But somewhere along the way, your journey turned into this little thing called the Marketing Meetup. Now, I want you to share that backstory because it's no longer a little thing, a little idea. It is gone global. And it really, honestly, it inspires me what you've created, but I'd love to share that with everybody that's listening.
That's you're very lovely.
Calling it how I see it, my friend.
So the Marketing Meetup started 7 years ago. I was a solo marketer working in a small company at the time. And I knew that I wanted somewhere where I could meet other marketers and learn about marketing. But traditional events were terrifying, frankly. Walking into those rooms where people stood in those circular formations or chose to sell at you was not the environment where I found myself being happy. I would stand in the corner and hide on my mobile phone and hope somebody would say hello to me. But if they chose not to, then I'd probably leave. My record for attending an event is 4.5 minutes. And in that event, I spent 3 minutes hiding in the toilet. So that gives you the rest of the 1.5 minutes of getting in and getting out. And so it was clear that something kind of needed to exist. And so I just did a thing, which was hold an event in a canteen in Cambridge, which was called the Marketing Meetup, or the Cambridge Marketing Meetup at the time, actually. It was a meetup group. So on meetup.com, we had 50 people come to the first event. It was kind and it was lovely. We learned and it was fun. So we did it again the next month and the next month and the next month. Over the course of time, people started coming up to me and saying, I'm traveling 2-3 hours to come to this evening event, this meetup in Cambridge. Do you mind if I do it close to my house? And so we started building out locations from 2016 through to 2020, which took us to 13 locations and 140 events each year up until COVID happened. COVID happened, the community was about 10,000 people at that point, and we took everything online. Built an incredible sense of momentum behind our online events. Each week, the Marketing Meetup gets between sort of 500 and 3,500 people sign up for our webinars. And we've just had some bonkers names. The head of global marketing for the Olympic Games, Michelle J. Raymond, the true glitterati of the marketing world, as well as very practical talks. But the lovely thing about all of this is that we've come together in this safe, kind space that for the past 7 years has maintained that spirit, those values. And now we're doing it all over again. So the Marketing Meetup is online still, but we're also in person. So this year we'll run, I think, up to 270 events, and we're started to pick up locations across America, Tokyo, Africa, 20 locations across the UK. And it's all just a bit mad, but in the most positive way possible, that we just look to help each other and have a nice time. Yeah, it's a good life.
If anybody sees these events, so I got to appear as a guest, as you just said, with the wonderful Leah Turner. And I just expected it to be just another go live webinar type thing. I've done 1,000 of them. I love them. But from the moment we set off, I have never experienced those comments were coming like crazy. The overflow afterwards of the kindness, and shout out to the guys that put together the event up in Edinburgh. That was
Yes.
mind blowing to me that people were getting together to watch me and Leah and yourself have this conversation. It still does my head in, and it's just mind blowing that that's the kind of impact. It's bouncing from the UK to Sydney back to Edinburgh. Like, that is the power of this community, which when I say it inspires me, it does, because these people are truly grateful for what you've created. I've spoken to lots of them in the background, but the positive and lovely, oh, it just shines. I know I've said it so many times during this episode. I have the right to say it more times. It's my show. I can keep going. But it just honestly, like when I tell you it was mind blowing, it really was, because these things start off as maybe a little group, a little idea, and then they get some momentum and they start. But in my experience, these things fall over. They just get off to a good start and then nothing. What's the secret in your experience to building momentum in communities to keep them going all this time? Because you've got to have crashed and burned, tried things, experimented. What's the secret sauce, Joe?
What a fabulous segue. You did that. You did that was great.
I'm on to you.
That was fabulous. So the secret to building momentum in the community, I think you have to turn up. You have to turn up a lot, and don't forget that point. A great LinkedIn trainer, a guy called John Asperian, in his book speaks about having a 30-month mindset on building content. And I think the same applies for pretty much everything. I think most people will try and do 3 events, maybe 1 event, and go, oh, yeah, that didn't work, and then stop. And so there's been plenty of ideas. There's been plenty of ideas that happened once. I've had ideas where I've did it once and then given up. But for whatever reason, I turned up time and time again. And so to give an example, like in London in particular, that was a real hard slog pre-COVID to fill the room. It's an hour and a half each way on the train for me. It was late. I was still working full time. And so you ask yourself the question, is this worth it? Now our London events sell out within a couple of days and there's a wait list of 154 people, which is stupid. But turning up is really important. Turn up is the first. The second is, I think you have to have a strong sense of, it's a bit Simon Sinek-y, and I don't want to go too far down that territory, but
Do it. Do it.
why are you doing what you're doing? I think that probably closer relates to the story of it. So my personal story is one that was pining for this safe space, a place where people come together and look to elevate one another. And that has stayed true for the past 7 years. And that is the guiding light of why we do what we do. And of course, there's variations that sit within that, but fundamentally at its core, we're solving that problem. And so if you're motivated by the problem, then you want to turn up more. I think the last thing is there's probably 2 more, but let's focus on one: word of mouth. So building momentum. So you've got a core of nice people who turn up to your first event, to your LinkedIn Live. You've got your Sebastians, your Nickys, your Anthonys watching in. And the magic there is asking them, these already amazing people, who do you know who should be coming in and being part of this experience? Because we know you are the type of person we want to reach. Who do you know that would also benefit from this? The Marketing Meetup has been primarily growth has been driven through word of mouth and social media. Social media is debatably word of mouth amplified. And that's a bit of magic as well. Realizing that giving folks a little bit of accountability to build this as a group. If it feels meaningful, let's build it together. Let's not rely on one person. Let's make this a co-created experience. And yeah, those are 3 things. Of course, there's so many more, but that would be where I'd start.
I've got such a small group of women business owners called the Cheer Squad for Good. It's such a small group on LinkedIn. But one by one, I'm not going to say I'm an elitist and handpick them, but at the same time, they are, because they match a certain kind of person, which is more important to me. I don't care what kind of business, but there's a commitment to empowering other women. That's what I wanted to create in this small group. And whilst it's only just under a couple of hundred, at the same time, it's been interesting to see that get started. And I've struggled because when I get busy, I want to take myself out of it. And at the moment, it's just a group. It's not a community, because when I'm not there, it disappears. And then when I come back, people are excited. And so this is the journey that I'm on back at the beginning. And I hope it doesn't end up at 60,000. I am like shuddering at that. But, the impact that you can start to see, the collaborations, the introductions. Now, I just have one little quick question. What if there's like an extrovert that's listening out there? Are we allowed in the door sometimes? Can we sneak into this thing? Or is it just the cool kids introverts club?
No. So we articulate our values or desired behaviors through 3 phases, which is listen, say hello, and be positively lovely. Listening because it's not a shouting match, saying hello because that's the hardest word in networking, and be positively lovely because it's all about kindness. Introvert, extrovert, it doesn't matter. We're all people, and frankly, job title doesn't matter too much. I think you'll get most from Marketing Meetup if you're a marketer, because that's what we speak about. But if you come here and you resonate with our value set and you enjoy that experience, then you're our people. And that's what a community is. We come together to build each other up and make each other stronger than we would be alone. And so that is what you spoke to, is the most important thing. It absolutely is welcome to whoever wants to be part of it, as long as you walk through the doors with those values in mind.
All right. Note to self, follow those 3 things. I think I can do that. I think I can. I think it's funny because, my experience has been on the other side. Whilst I'm an extrovert and I've always worked in B2B sales, 20 plus years. So my job has always been meet a stranger, be their best friend within the next 3 minutes, and then go from there and form a relationship for the next ongoing, as long as I look after that client. And so for me, my experience of these networking events is a little bit different. I love to come to them. I naturally gravitate. I want to say hello to everyone. But there's an element of you almost feel like you're the shark and they're the prey, because other people are sitting there going, please don't come over to me. Please don't say, oh my God, here she comes. She's going to ask me a question. And so it can be a little bit intimidating on the other side, whilst we may not show it or it may not come out in the same ways. Quite often I've found the dynamic is the thing that's a little weird. And I love that you've created a space that kind of neutralizes that. I'm sure there's people on either side that still think it feels a little that way. But at the same time, I love that you've got things in place and practical tips for people so that they know when they arrive, just the expectation is say hi, that's all we ask. Just say hi and be lovely, which I would imagine most people can pull off.
It's remarkable how I do think it's pretty special how if you tell people to be positively lovely, generally speaking, they will. And I think quite often there will be people who have come to the marketing meetup who have gone, this isn't for me, bit weird. Bit weird, and that's very cool too. That's the point about having a point of view, right? Is that it's here for folks who agree with those things, and that extrovert introvert dynamic is useful. I think if you've got a genuine curiosity in the person in front of you, which you always seem to carry with you, and I'm saying it about you personally, but asking a question is such a pleasant thing if you're showing genuine interest, and then responding to their answer rather than starting the next sentence with, oh yeah, I did that when, or whatever it may be. I think it shares such a care for the people in front of you that they can't help but feel, even if they're a little bit shy, they can't help but feel appreciated and acknowledged, which I think speaks to something that on a human level, most of us would like to be, is appreciated and acknowledged. So.
And I think we find when we have these conversations, we realize we're not that much different. And it's those opposites that actually help us to grow. If I look back in my experience in my career, it's not the people that have been the same as me that helped me to grow. It's the people that were different to me that helped me to grow. So I love that whole fact. And I can be friends with marketers just as much, even though I have that sales career. Don't tell anyone. There's 2 sides to every coin, as we were talking before the show started. And whilst there's a lot of positive that's come out of it, what's been the biggest challenge for you personally in creating this community? Because we're talking 7 years now, something that grew its own legs and gained momentum. Fast forward, what's the impact on you personally or the biggest challenge that you find?
So the phrasing of your question was, what was the biggest challenge that you have found? And so I think it's important to point that out in my answer, because I feel like I'm going to be quite selfish when I sort of speak about myself, but that's where we started.
Okay.
Something we spoke about in the previous answer was this idea of both introvert and extrovert, both good and bad, being useful and not useful. And I get the sense that many of my challenges with events are both useful and not useful. So I would walk into an event and I would be terrified. And I still am. Like, I attended an event last week and I was so drained by the experience. What we did is on Tuesday this week, we had a conversation about how we can create our events to make sure that they're even kinder for people who feel like I do. And that is the biggest challenge, is like, for every bit of good, there is also the bad. And for every little bit of bad, there is also the good. And that's big, because I think particularly when you put so much emotional energy into building something, then you feel these things deeply. And so I would say that, in another example of both, TM has been an example of something that has been immensely energy giving, but also immensely energy draining. And that is the biggest challenge. The good is also the bad. The difficult is also the easy. The useful is also not very useful. And it's a bit of a cryptic answer, I appreciate, but I think it's literally been my biggest learning from the past year, is that everything is almost always both. It's very rarely, I always gravitate away from anyone who says this is the answer, this is how you do it. I've got the code. There is no code. There is only the best thing that you can do with the information that you have in that moment in time with your context. And yeah, you can get templates and frameworks which are very useful, and I'm a fan of them. But you've just got to navigate this thing by doing the best that you can each day. And that's not always terrifically easy. And so, yeah, the good and the bad of myself is the biggest challenge. And it's a little bit existential, but also useful, I think.
I think so too. And as Dolly Parton says, you can't have the rainbow without the rain. So I'm going to take it completely the other way, trashy. But yeah, two sides of one coin. But that's it. I really appreciate you answering that, so honestly and raw, because there are people that are listening in today to this live and will listen to it on the podcast that needed to hear this today. And we've already got feedback on that in the comments. So I appreciate you for sharing that with people, that it doesn't happen by magic. It's not always perfect. It is an evolution of the event, of you personally, and the community itself. Yeah, I just really, again, appreciate you sharing that, both sides, because I'm on a bit of a mission at the moment, because I feel like there's a lot of people on LinkedIn that are a little bit feeling down, because it looks like everybody in the home feed's got it all together. Everyone knows how to create the best content. They know all about the algorithm. They know how to write the world's best posts. And then there's these other people watching on the sidelines that are just intimidated by it. And I'm out to change that conversation by keeping things real and saying, we're just further down the track, or we're the people that didn't give up when it was scary. And I think that's your message here, is you just kept going and finding a way, and back to that why you're creating this. So I think that's really powerful. The flip side, let's go back again. Like, how has it helped you grow as a person? So you've given so much to the community, but you wouldn't do it if there was something not coming back. What do you think's been the biggest thing, or maybe the thing you didn't expect would happen?
There are so many. I would say a thing that has happened is that the terrified person who walks into networking events isn't so terrified anymore, which is an interesting dynamic. And I think as a result of that, there has been an interesting shift in that, while I still relate and resonate with everything that we speak to, I also feel like there's been an evolution in myself, which is I am now a little bit less scared, and therefore I can help people who felt like I did. And so as an evolution as a person, then I think a lovely starting point is I'm probably just a little bit less fearful about things. And of course, there's learnings that go along with it. I have the privilege of, and so does everyone else if they chose to engage every week, but I get to listen to really smart people every week. I'd like to think I've become pretty good at this sort of stuff now, which has been lovely. But on a far more personal level, my growth has been immense. And the pleasure of that is that once you're doing okay, then you put the ladder down and you help others get to that place too. And so that's really where the mission is right now, is just, we're doing all right. The community is big. We've got an event structure. The foundations are there. How can we take people on that journey of confidence and really resonate with that challenge that there are people who felt like I did. There are a lot of people who don't feel like I did as well, and we can help those too. But if we can take people on that journey of confidence, then that's fabulous. And I feel invigorated and empowered to do that. Equally exhausted by that thought, in the world of both, but in a very pleasant way. Yeah.
Oh, I can see how it is all of those things and then some. Joe, normally when I wrap the show up, I love to leave people with an actionable tip. So if there's a community builder out there, what is a tip that you have for them? It can be your choice. I don't mind like which direction you go, but how can we help someone take an action today?
I think if one was interested in starting a community, then I think the number one thing that you need to know is your story for doing why you're going to do it. Because I think so many people, particularly in a corporate environment, will sit from a perspective of, okay, we'd like to build a community to build a lead generation thing. And that's not the starting point. There's a starting point, which is this community exists because it needs to exist. And this community exists because I needed it. This community existed because my friend needed it and I wanted to create that space for them. Whatever it is, I think the foundation step is this community exists for this reason and it's meaningful and it's thoughtful and it's human related. After that point, you can go and do it. You can keep on turning up. It actually doesn't matter what you do. It doesn't matter if it's webinars or live events or newsletters or whatever. The thing that matters is you know why you're doing it. And if I could add an attitude that sits as part of that, it's 4 words, which is, it's not about you, which means to say that after you've identified that story and you've began your journey, then realize that actually a community is not yours to command and control. A community is yours to be part of, is to co-create the experience. And so even though you are the community organizer, like, just be willing to have those conversations with people and allow the community to go where it needs to go itself, rather than feel like you need to control it, because it's not yours. It's ours. It's everyone's. That's what a community is. Yeah. Start with that attitude too.
I think that's a pretty good attitude in life in general. So I absolutely appreciate you for being that person. And I'm going to put all the details for how people can come to the events and register online, whether it's you watch it from afar like I do, or you get to go and meet up locally like some of the other events in your part of the world. When I tell you it was palpable, the kindness and the positively loveliness that came out of my experience being on your event, I genuinely mean that. I set out to do my business 3 years ago. My motto is do good business with good people. I just want you to know you're one of the good guys and I appreciate you. And I love you for the fact that you are terrified and you still do this for other people. When I say I'm a fangirl, I absolutely am. And I don't say that to every guest, but I just love what you've achieved. And I want to thank you for it on behalf of everybody in that community. We all appreciate you. And yeah, thank you for being you.
Yeah, no, I don't know how to be anyone else. So
Perfect. Do not be anybody else. And I'm going to leave it there. But yeah, I just wanted to say thank you. All the details to contact Joe, how you can follow him on LinkedIn, how you can get in touch with Marketing Meetup, they'll all be in the show notes. So thank you everybody for joining us live and those that are listening in on the podcast. Appreciate you and look forward to speaking with you all next week. Cheers.